What up, what up, what up, football fans all over the world? It is your boy, Mac the Giants fan, here with my guy, the super dope co-host, Adam Costas. Y'all know what time it is. It's time for that real deal NFC East round up. Punch that intro. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Real Deal NFC East Roundup. I am Mac the Giants fan here with my super dope co-host Adam Costas. How you feeling today, bro?
It's good. 1 week close to the season. It's a lot of fun. It's training camp. It's hot. Let's get into it, man.
Absolutely, man. Let's talk about it, man. Go to Dallas first, I suppose. Like you said, Dallas is circulating with a lot of injuries coming down the pike for Dallas right now. Early on in training camp, man. They kind of dodged the bullet a bit with Tyler Guyton, man. He's going to be out for a little bit. He may even miss 1 or 2 weeks of the regular season, man. But it could have been. They thought it was much worse than that initially. So when you talk about him, we'll start off with him, man. And see, talk about this Cowboys.
Yeah, the Cowboy squad. So first and foremost, Guyton, as you guys know, Mac just mentioned, is like some bone bruise and a sprained MCL. So they dodged the bullet there. Rumor was that he tore an ACL. Luckily for them, he did not, which means they can proceed as normal. Thankfully for them, the injury happened early in the training camp process, right? He has plenty of time to recover. It said 4 to 6 weeks, so I'm going to land it on around 5. Depending on how fast he heals. I'm not counting him out for the Giant game at all. I know the Giants played him a week 2. I definitely he's on the cusp of missing the Eagle game. But think about that. The Eagle game comes early, so you'll probably miss that game. Then you have 10 days off to rest. So there's a lot of time between now and the start of the regular season for them. But I don't think he's going to miss more than 1 or 2 games, if that. And then we'll see what happens from there. At the next big hurdle they have is Micah Parsons. Now, whether you believe the reports or not, I don't. That they're far apart. I think this thing is going to get done at some point. They just signed Ferguson, the tight end, so you can see that they know that they're going to lock up their guys. But getting back to the offensive line, it's interesting that Guyton gets injured, right? Because I was reading about it and I'm like, oh man, this is bad for the Cowboys. Then you read how they're moving along. And I think the irony is they went out and got Robert Jones, the guard from Miami, right? And apparently he broke his neck or bone in his neck. So he's out 2 months. Well, guess what? They already got Tyler Booker, who was playing on the second team. Now you get him up to speed. He's a first round pick. He should be in the starting lineup or threatening for the starting lineup anyway. So this kind of thrusts him in there. They already have other guys they can kind of move around. Guyton was in and out of the lineup last year. He didn't start all the games. He played in 15, but started like 11 games, if I'm not mistaken. So they have a way of moving offensive linemen around. Their offense has been, pretty good moving up and down the field as they build chemistry with George Pickens, who's having a great camp, I'm hearing. Dak Prescott coming back from his leg injury, the hamstring injury. This Cowboy team has got some talent, some unwritten talent. And I know that they lost a corner recently that was injured as well. They got a lot of depth and a lot of good depth out there because they got Akeem. I know they're getting Trayvon Diggs back. They lost a corner, but they also drafted one he's going to come back in the 3rd round. And then they got the guy from the Buffalo guy I was speaking to you about, not to mention Deron Bland, right? So they still have a lot of players back there to deploy. And guys are coming back. Again, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, it's better to have injuries earlier in camp than it is later in camp when the games start to matter. So to get some of those guys back during the regular season, people forget, you have 2 weeks still left in this month or this. You still have the rest of this week. You have next week and the whole month of August, and then you don't start till the 3rd of September. So a lot of the time to get a lot of these guys off the pup list and off these injuries that they have. But I think for me, the Cowboys are quietly going about their business, and they've made some decent moves. And today they were talking about on NFL Network. David Carr, brother of Derek Carr, was mentioning that how he likes the running backs for the Cowboys. That they were the two guys they got, Sanders and Javonte Williams. They said they liked them, and I'm wondering to myself. And Miles Sanders apparently has a chip on his shoulder. I don't know if you heard this, but he's got a big chip on his shoulder about the Eagles releasing him. So he may not play, big for a lot of games, but 2 games you can circle if you're a Cowboy fan is at least the Eagle game to open it. So some of their injuries on the offensive line, they've been banged up. This seems to be the Cowboy team every year. Every year they start training camp, they look great. In June, come July, they just the injury bug bites them. So, that's basically the update for them. I mean, Mac, I'm sure you got more questions and things to go a little bit more in depth with them, but that's the surface level stuff. But you mentioned Guyton, so let's stick with the offensive line. I think it's going to be pretty solid, to be honest with you. I hate to say it. They got a big offensive line, a huge offensive line, probably the biggest in the league.
I mean, they do indeed, and but those are injuries still to me. I think are a little more worrisome. I'm not gonna. I don't want like Tyler Guyton. You said it's good in the sense for the Cowboys. It's good that it happened early enough in right now in this process that hopefully they won't be they won't be missing too much time when the games really matter, when the real bullets are flying. But at the end of the day, it's still something to monitor, something to watch. I mean, these big guys, lower leg injuries like that. Sometimes the process can delay a little bit. The healing process can delay a little bit. Not, at the end of the day, we'll wish the guy best of luck. Honestly, you don't like to see guys getting banged up and get hurt. Like this, I want to get these guys. I want to get every team on our schedule. Personally, the way I feel about it, let's get them at full strength. Let's get the best that they got to offer. I don't want to. I don't. But at this end of the day, it's a tough break for the Cowboys right now. A little bit early on, but hopefully, like they said, they'll get him back. And maybe he will be ready. It's not likely he'll be ready for week 1 against the Eagles, like you said, but maybe he can be ready for week 2 when they take on the New York Giants. But on to something else real quick. I mean, once another week of the drama, and Michael Parsons still seems to be no closer to having a deal, man. I still think. I know what you said last week, and the Cowboys, they kind of string these things along, and then boom, it's just going to end up happening. But I just feel like situations like this with a player of this magnitude, just the sooner the better, man. Like, it's just no reason for it not to be getting done, man. Like, at the end of the day, letting Michael Parsons walk out the door is not really an option. I mean, that's not an option. He's only going to get more and more expensive. I mean, I don't see any kind of long-term holdout or anything like that when it comes down to it. Michael Parsons definitely wants to be on that field with his guys, with his teammates, but I just feel like the longer you wait, just the more expensive he's going to get. I don't know if you have any more thoughts on that whole situation.
Again, this is posturing. Talk to me when the regular season happens. They had this happen back in the day with Emmitt Smith, and it happened. You're going to find out when the defense runs rugshod by the Eagles, offense, and he walks in and says, "I could have been a difference maker." I'm sure the deal will get signed. For whatever reason, they're nitpicking. I don't know why they chose to nitpick with him. I don't get it. I don't understand it. But again, it's the Cowboys. He's there. He's doing a hold in. And don't think that their representatives are not talking, even though they say that they're not talking. He could have easily done what Terry McLaurin did and held out. He doesn't want to be fined. I get it. But usually these things get done. Now, again, Adam Schefter brought up it's better that it's early than late. But they say it gets dark early in these parts, and it will become a distraction at some point. I don't understand why they're doing this. It doesn't make sense to me. They've paid Deion Sanders, they paid Emmitt Smith, they've paid Michael Irving, they've paid Tony Romo, they've paid guys across the board. I don't understand why Michael Parsons, who is arguably one of the best defensive players, at least top 5 in the NFL right now on defense, why you would let him walk out the door. Why this is even a question. I guess it's probably guaranteed money on Micah's end, but this shouldn't be even an issue. Jerry Jones should be like, what are we doing here? Why aren't you signing him? We should sign into a long-term deal right now. I'm the GM. I know what I'm talking about. But apparently, Jerry Jones does what Jerry Jones does. And I can't listen. I've seen this song and dance before. That's why I'm not worried about it for Cowboys because this is typically how they do things. Again, they've extended CD Lamb, they extended Dak Prescott, they extended Ferguson. Okay, all on the offense right now. They need defensive help. What will be bad is this. I will tell you when you need to throw the alarm flags up is if they extend George Pickens before they extend Micah Parsons, that's when you'll have an issue. Because at that point, you can say to yourself, maybe they don't care about Micah Parsons. And I don't know. He's been a pretty good soldier there. I haven't heard any drama. Have you, Mac, on his end in
Not at
terms of
all.
right?
He's
No
been a great
malcontent.
teammate and obviously a phenomenal player. So,
Right. So again, why? I mean, there's guys that you look at the league that you think should have an 8, 9 year career with a team, right? I'm not going to say 10 years anymore. I'll give you at least 2 contracts, right? 8-year career. That's a guy that should be there, and you're talking about him. I mean, he's one of the top sack leaders in the league. Okay, came in and he's had double-digit sacks every season for the first 5 years. It's only like nobody else. I don't even know who else is on his level. I think it was either Reggie White or Bruce Smith, some type of crazy pass rusher that's come in and had double-digit sacks the first 5 years of their career, whatever he was, 4 years of their career. So again, we'll find out. I think in the media, somebody's floating it out there saying they're not even close. It's going to be something that they're asked about every day. So it's not like it's going to go away anytime soon. And the regular season is fastly approaching. So again, I'm not worried about it because again, Mac, you've been watching the NFL for 40 something years. Michael Strahan didn't get signed or come to camp till the week before the start of the season, right? In 2007, he's done holdouts himself. Tiki Barber, guys like that. We've seen this before. And when the 11th hour happens and the Eagles are breathing down your neck, that's when you'll see something get done. And especially if let's say he holds out into the year, which is a game check. I don't think he wants to miss a game check. But let's just say, hypothetically speaking, he misses game 1. I think it'll be Emmitt Smith all over again. I don't know if they'll go to the Super Bowl, but it'll be Emmitt Smith all over again where you're like, our defense couldn't stop a fucking nosebleed. Oh, guess who's coming into town? The Giants, who are, getting a new quarterback and getting new acclimated new players. Let's bring them in here and save the day because that's what is essentially going to happen down the road in my eyes.
I mean, true to form, I do tend to agree with you. I mean, I just think sometimes it's just certain guys you just shouldn't drag your feet with, man. But Jerry Jones conducts business the way he conducts business, good, bad, or indifferent. However you feel about it, man. But
I don't like the way he does business, but it is what it is,
Yeah, exactly. But some of my guy I've been hearing some pretty good things about coming out of Cowboy camp. Another guy, Jake Ferguson, actually, they're tight end, man. I think this guy's ready to take another a step this season as well. Could be a pretty huge, big part of this offense. I mean, with George Pickens trying to deal with George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb on the outside, got a guy like Jake Ferguson that can control the middle of the field, man. I think he could be primed to have a pretty big year. Dak Prescott, they said, is looking pretty sharp as well. And Cam getting back to form coming off the injury. I don't know if you have any thoughts on Jake Ferguson.
Well, obviously they feel the same way you do because they paid him, and he's a vital part of their offense going forward. This is why people need to understand about the Cowboys. We talk about them all every year, but look at their receiving corps. Somebody brought it up perfectly. Derek Carr. He said, if you look at the Eagles, who do they have? A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. If you look at the Cowboys, and not to mention Dallas Goedert, if you look at the Cowboys, who do they have? They have now CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, not to mention Jake Ferguson. The only thing they're missing is a bell cow back, and which the Eagles have, right? And Saquon Barkley. That's the missing piece that the Cowboys don't have. I think Ferguson helps the offense. He gets a lot of burn. He's the safety valve for Dak Prescott. Without Dak Prescott in the lineup, Ferguson's not the same. I mean, I saw a stat today that the Cowboys scored 20 points a game last year. Well, that's decent. When you think about it, but they're going to score more points now with George Pickens and Ferguson. And what's going to happen is if they get the run game going, any modicum of run game, Rico Dowell ran there last year. I think Miles Sanders and Williams are both capable backs to capable enough backs. They're not going to be superstars, but they're going to be capable enough backs to get you a decent run game. If they get a solid run game going, imagine the play action. Again, I'm not trying to steal stuff from Derek Carr, but he mentioned something that I thought was a good point. You can't have the team be throwing for 40 times a game. It's just not going to work out. But with that being said, if you do happen to get play action, Ferguson's a guy that I love against any linebacker, any safety. He's big, he's physical. He's done a lot of things in the NFL in his first couple of years, and that's why they rewarded him like one of the best tight ends in the game. So if you look at their offense on paper, they are pretty loaded. And that's not to mention some of the backup guys they're getting and integrating as well. So we'll see what happens. I'm intrigued how he's going to do. He did have a decent season, Ferguson, last year. But again, the Cowboys are smart in certain areas, locking up your guys. But when it comes to the megastar, they seem to have a problem. So I don't know what's going to happen. I like Ferguson. I think he's one of the best tight ends in the NFC, let alone the NFC East. And I think arguably you could say he's the best tight end in the NFC East. I mean, it goes between him and Dallas Goedert. The other two teams don't really have, huge tight ends. Zach Ertz had a renaissance year, I guess you could say, for the Commanders. But, Ferguson would be number one for me, probably then Dallas Goedert. Then I would put in Zach Ertz. And then the Giants have tight ends with question marks. We hope that Theo Johnson could be it. So, and tight end for Dak Prescott's always been necessary. And the Cowboys are known for decent tight ends. They had Jason Witten, they had Jay Novacek, and now they have Jake Ferguson. So, we'll see how it pans out. I don't want to praise these teams too much or make them gloss on them like they're great, but you got to call a spade, and they do have a solid tight end in that Jake Ferguson.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just real quick before we wrap up the Cowboys for this week, talk about their running back situation earlier. Miles Sanders and Javonte Williams, the veteran guys in that room that they brought in this past off season. They're obviously going to pretty much be at least start the season off 1 and 2 on their depth chart. But I think they've got Cowboys might got something brewing with young guy Jaden Blue, late round draft pick from this past draft. Man, Jaden Blue has been having a tremendous camp from everything I'm hearing. Guys seem to love him, and he seems to add a completely dynamic to that running back room, man. You think this guy could put some pressure on these two veterans, man, and maybe even potentially become that Cowboys running back of the future, man? Like kind of like what Tyrone Tracy did a season ago with the Giants.
Well, you never say never, and I think he'll get an opportunity. He's definitely going to get an opportunity because there's no real bell cow in front of him, right? You have Williams, like I said, who was good and solid. You have Sanders, who's having a solid camp as well, and you have the guy you just mentioned. What's his name again? Jaden Blue, right?
Yes.
He's having a good camp. Now he could earn the job, which is what you want. But I think to start the season against the Eagles, they're going to start Miles Sanders and Williams. Why? For the blitz pickup, and the assignments that need to be taken care of as a running back. Now, eventually, can we see him do what Tyrone Tracy did? Remember, Tyrone Tracy came in behind a veteran himself in Devin Singletary, and then outplayed the veteran down the stretch, and like you said, brought a different dynamic. If he is bringing a home run dynamic to the Cowboys, right, and he'll get a lot of burn in the preseason, these preseason games. If he makes it out clean, and he starts to build, and he becomes another element for this Cowboy team, that's just going to change up everything. I think people undervalue running backs in this league. I think they don't want premier running backs for whatever reason. But as I get immersed myself in the NFL season, watching the NFL Network, you're watching guys like Bijan Robinson, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry. Like those are three of the top guys at their position. And you're looking around the league, and a lot of people just want to put patchwork there. And I'm like, sometimes the element of having a good running game and a good running back can change your offense. If you're looking at Atlanta, let's say, I know it's the NFC East show, but let's just do them as an example, right? They have Mooney, they have Drake London, they have Kyle Pitts, and they have Bijan Robinson. What was their missing link? A quarterback that could get on the ball. Well, this time they have a quarterback in Penix that can open a lot more things up. So when you think about a running game, right? What was the Cowboys at their strength when they had Zeke Elliott, right? They were pounding people. They were winning, 13 games a year when they had a bell cow back. They haven't had that since he's left. And to get a guy like you said, the blue kid in the fifth round, I don't have expectations for him. So that's good. Maybe flying under the radar is what he needs. And then, Miles Sanders is not like it's not like he's the who's who of running backs. It's not like he's replacing Curtis Martin. I mean, Miles Sanders couldn't even make it on the fucking Panthers team, right? Like he went to the Panthers, got injured, and then Chris Hubbard took his job, right? And then he never regained that shit. And he came back, had a couple good games, some runs, but it was like he left to get paid. Remember, he was a good back behind that enormous offensive line in Philadelphia. Leaves to go someplace else, not that good. Maybe he has another renaissance, but to put a bow on it, I think there's for the Cowboys, any running back is a chance to make it, and we'll see. Don't sleep on Williams though. He was pretty good for Denver, and maybe he'll be the bell cow inside the red zone because he's more of a thicker back. But I can't. I hate to say this, but I can't wait to watch these teams and how they evolve, right? Because we do this show, it's allowed me to look at teams not just as a giant level, but to open the blinders up on my peripheries and see what else is going on. And when I take a step back and take the giant hat off, but the content creator hat on, I'm excited to see some of these storylines unfold, right? Do I hate the Cowboys on Sundays? Yes. But Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, when we do this show and we're gathering our information, I get intrigued by things. You know what I mean? I want to research things for you. So what am I getting at is like this is going to be an intriguing storyline to see if he can, with barring an injury, of course, usurp the backs that are in front of him that are veteran backs that are capable of doing the job. They aren't like they're better than Rico Dowell, but they're not the elite of the elite. And it's not like Blue has to go through Barkley and say, hey, you know what? I'm not going to get in the field this year, right? But he's got Miles Sanders, who, like Najee Harris with LA, is a journeyman back right now, and is not. It takes one injury to go down. Miles Sanders has been banged up the last couple of years. How can I rely on him? So yes, there's going to be an opportunity for this kid to get some burn.
Absolutely. Good stuff, man. I'm going to wrap up the Cowboys for this week because just you don't really got much more about them unless you had any more final thoughts on the Cowboys in general. But now we can move on to the Washington Commanders, man, and let's talk and see what's going on at Washington camp, man.
Nothing here
As we
for the
know,
Cowboys.
as we know, Terry McLaurin has reported doing a bit of a hold in himself as well, still looking for that contract. But he's on the pup list, dealing with an ankle right now. Got your thoughts going on from our Washington camp?
Well, things are interesting coming out of Washington camp for me. Well, we'll start with Terry McLaurin first, then we'll get into some other thoughts. I don't understand what you need to pay this man. This guy, Terry McLaurin, has been through hell with this franchise and has not complained once, has not stormed out, has not made a scene, has not done anything besides perform on the field. There are guys on other teams when the teams, lose and go 4-13 and 4-12 and all these shitty years that give up and don't care and check out or say, get me off this team. You know what I mean? Get me off this team because there's not enough burn or I'm lazy. Guys retire. Look at Calvin Johnson and Barry Sanders. They're like, I'm tired of fucking losing. I'm going to retire if you're not going to trade me. And so here we are with this Commander team who has a resurgence, right? And you don't have any real players to hang your hat on. Name a player of the Commanders outside of Terry McLaurin. You can't because he's the only guy that when you think of the Commanders, he's the first name that comes up, right? I mean, Bobby Wagner is associated with the Seattle Seahawks, and he's just new. So yeah, sure, you can say Bobby Wagner, you can say Frank Luvu, whatever. Before those guys even showed up, Terry McLaurin was there, and Terry McLaurin was there with two quarterbacks, right? Two shitty quarterbacks, Sam Howell and whoever else they put out there for him. He's still got 1,000 yards. And then Tyler Heineke years. All this guy has done for this franchise is give up blood, sweat, and tears. And the least you can do is pay him. It's probably going to be his last contract anyway. because he's 30 years old. So what are we talking about? He wants what, 4 years, 5 years, and some guaranteed money? Okay, Terry, here we go. What if I'm Adam Peters? I don't know why I'm putting my on the table and trying to strong arm a guy who's basically done everything and more for this entire franchise. And so while I like Adam Peters as a GM and I respect what he's done, to me this move doesn't make any sense to me. It makes no sense. You have no other real playmakers on your team. Sure, you got Debo Samuels, and he's having a great camp, right? And maybe that is what is holding you back, saying, hey, we got Debo Samuel, the younger version of you. But are we trying to win championships? Or are we trying to, get disgruntled? Because again, Jerry Jones, I understand that's his makeup. I get it with Micah Parsons. I think it's still going to work itself out. This one I don't understand because, again, these players understand, one, they get fined if they don't show up, and two, they're not making a scene. I don't see Terry McLaurin going to the mic and be like, blah, 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 fuck this team. And like what they're doing over in Dallas, where they're basically having a verbal sparring match via the media. He doesn't do any of that. And the fact that you're sitting here today not paying him, I guarantee you he'll be off the PUP list as soon as that contract is signed, right? As soon as that contract is signed, miraculously his ankle would be healed. It would be as if they found the fountain of youth all of a sudden. Don't play me. We understand. This is a cover up for you to, get your shit together. Well, guess what? Get your shit together, because he's going to look across the league and he's going to be like, Garrett Wilson got extended. I'm better than Garrett Wilson. I've been in the league longer than Garrett Wilson. I've done a lot more than Garrett Wilson, even though Garrett Wilson's a stud. I'm Terry McLaurin. I've had 1,000-yard receiving seasons with quarterbacks I can't even name. I can't even name their quarterbacks. He's had Kyle Allen. He's had Tyler Heineke. He's had shit after shit after shit. I might as well go take a crap in the fucking toilet and look down and see that's the quarterback play they've had. Okay? So give me a fucking break with this shit. And I'm not trying to be passionate about Terry McLaurin, but I understand class. Okay? I respect other people's players. And Terry McLaurin has done nothing but be a model citizen since he walked through them doors. Pay that man.
Absolutely can agree, man. What's going on? No Mets, no Nets, no Jets. What's going on, Coach Ed? Thanks for stopping in, guys. I appreciate you, man. Peace and blessings to you as well, Coach. But yeah, you know how I feel. Terry McLaurin, to me, man, to me, this whole situation, it makes me feel like, is he underappreciated now all of a sudden after the year he put together last season? I mean, like you said, everything he's been through throughout his career with, like you said, very, very, very mediocre at best quarterback play. And then last year, the way he was able to elevate his game last year when you get a competent young man in there and Jaden Daniels, it's just, to me, it's just ridiculous, man. The age thing I get, but at the end of the day, this man is still playing, as he demonstrated this season ago, at a very high level, man. And he deserves to get compensated for what he deserves, for all he's been through with this organization. Like I said, it's just, to me, it's a joke.
I don't want to hear about that age shit.
You got to take care of your guy. You got to take care of your guy, man.
What about TJ Watt? TJ Watt's 30 years old. He got paid big money. You know what I'm saying?
You got to.
You know what I mean? Like, what do we? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you got to take care of your guy, man. And I just feel like, to me, it's just not an excuse for a guy like Terry McLaurin for you to be sitting there spinning your wheels and acting like this man's not deserving. I mean, like I said, it's one thing if he's banging down your door asking for Jamar Chase money or Justin Jefferson money. That's one thing. Then we can have a conversation for sure. Like, okay, dude, you're not quite, worthy of that kind of contract. But I think he's asking for something that's more in his it's a fair rate for a guy of his ability, man. And I think that Washington, you need to go ahead and take care of that. So, I mean, and the sooner the better, because
you look at
I was going to say, because hypothetically, if he goes out there and puts together another year like he did a season ago, once again, like I said, he can only become even maybe a little more expensive. So take care of it now, and then boom, wash your hands of it, and then you're good. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't get it.
But we're not talking about numbers here that are going to blow the doors off. your team. Yeah, okay. So if his age matters, right, then why don't you make an age-friendly contract? I mean, we're talking about business here, right? What are we doing? The guy's had 1,000 yards. I'm looking at his stats. He came to the league. 919 yards. I don't know his quarterback, 7 touchdowns, 1,100 yards in 2020 when there was nobody in the stands. He's still having to perform. Let me guess, 2021 when they still had no quarterback on the roster that was worth a damn, still had 1,000 yards. 1,100 yards he had, in 2022. Again, fucking booties throwing him the ball. He had 1,000 yards again, which again you could say it's not an accomplishment, but it is when you are stacking them again with no quarterback. Last year he had a quarterback and he had 13 fucking touchdowns and 1,000 yards. So again, what are we talking about? When there was a clutch moment to be had, we had him. I get the age thing, but we have to put this thing behind us right now. Okay, this is more than age with Terry McLaurin. For 6 years, this guy has produced. Do you want to play him like Jamar Chase? I agree with Mac. I'm not giving him that money. But if you're telling me, and you maybe don't want to pay him like Deebo Samuel, fine. You're doing this as a favor to him. I'm not trying to give you, like, listen, Terry, you're 30 years old. I want to give you a 4-year deal. I'll front load it where you get your 60 or $70 million up front. You get compensated, right? And then the back end contracts are essentially 1-year deals, just in case your play falls off the map. But he's right now entering his prime, and I don't think he wants to go anywhere with a youthful kid. And the Commanders finally looking up. I'm sure he'll take a hometown discount, as the saying goes, to remain with this team. But he still wants to be compensated fairly, especially since he's been loyal, right? I think he's in the top 10. You got to look what he does. He's a clutch receiver. You know what he reminds me of? He's the modern day Hines Ward for me. Okay, that's what he is. An underappreciated wide receiver who just did his job. And when you looked up and looked down and the dust settled, he had 1,000 yards and was in the Pro Bowl, right? And even if he's a top 12 receiver, you still should pay the man out of loyalty.
That's,
you know how many people will be.
That's still very good considering the amount of receivers, you know what I mean,
Right,
in the league. I mean, that's being a top 20 receiver is good. You know what I mean? If you think about it realistically, I mean, every
what
team
does he do
pretty
for that
much.
Football team, Nick? Who the hell?
Yeah, exactly.
Who the hell? They had Noah Brown as their second fucking receiver last year. Noah fucking Brown. Now they have Terry McLaurin, who's probably going to still be the number one. And if he does get older, guess what? You have Deebo Samuel and Luke McCaffrey, who are also moving there up the line. You could still draft a receiver. See, what good teams do is they don't give a damn about who's in front of them. They get talent when talent is needed. You look at the Green Bay Packers, they finally drafted a receiver. If they get Christian Watkins back and now Romeo Doubs and their tight end, they're going to now have an exponentially better team. Terry McLaurin makes that team better. We don't know how they're going to use Deebo Samuel yet. And to me, if I'm looking at it, again, what did we just talk about with the Cowboys? The Cowboys have George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. What do the Eagles have? The Eagles have Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. What do the Commanders currently have now? Terry McLaurin and Deebo Samuel. Do we see a trend here happening? I think so. Right now, you've got a good receiver in his prime who hasn't been a malcontent like a George Pickens, who hasn't been a malcontent like a CeeDee Lamb, who doesn't read books on the sideline like A.J. Brown, and comes about and does his job every week. So why can't we just appreciate that? Oh, well, he's only the top 12 receiver. He's 30 years old. Okay, well, guess what? You can't take away. Why am I not involved in contract negotiations? Because I don't have that clout. If I did, I'd instantly sign him. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when and what your numbers are, and then try to meet him in the middle. That's it. What, you're gonna let this guy walk to another team and be good? You put that guy with Patrick Mahomes right now. I guarantee you, he goes to Kansas City. He's a friggin' stud over there. He goes to Kansas City. He goes to Buffalo. The Buffalo would love to have Terry McLaurin. Let's go down the list of deprived teams that could use a number 2 receiver like Terry McLaurin. There's plenty of them. And they would pay him money because all he's done is produced in the league.
Absolutely. See? That's all he's done. What's going on, Kevin, man? Appreciate you stopping by, man. Like you say, he's making $22 million now, and I'm comfortable with him comfortable with 32 to 35 million since JD is on a rookie deal. Exactly. That's another thing you think about it. Like, Jaden Daniels continues at the level, at the trajectory he's headed on. You know you're gonna have to open up the paybook for him in a few years. You know what I mean? So,
and by then Terry will be gone or close to being gone, right?
Or close to being gone. Yeah. So you take care of Terry McLaurin now.
just look at JD. JD, you just said, right? He played 1 year. He has technically going to have a 5-year deal, right? You're probably going to have to extend him in year 2, 3, and or 4, right? You're going to want to do that. So in this case, you sign him now, which is what we talk about when you have a rookie on a rookie contract. That is time to build. So money right now is irrelevant. You can backload it, front load it, guarantee the money so it comes out right now. Like, these contracts in the NFL are so inflated, and I don't blame Terry McLaurin because you want to get paid. You want to get paid. And I would love to get paid too at his age. I'll take Terry McLaurin's money. You know what I'm saying? Pay me his money. If you don't, you know what I mean? Like, what are we talking about here? The guy's asking for what? $10 more million? You can't find that somewhere and push it down the road? Like, so let's fast forward to 3 years. If he still has 1,000 yards and in 3 years, it makes it to 10,000 yards, and this guy's saying, I want a contract, yeah, kick him to the curb. You can Amari Cooper his ass at that point. But this guy got better last year. He got better. And with Jaden Daniels, did you watch those games that he played in? He was a huge factor in their wins. Huge. If they don't have if they don't have Terry McLaurin, they don't win 12 games. Put that
every time they needed a big play, they went to Scary Terry. Every time. Not some of the time. Every time. They needed a big play.
I think the people in the back can't hear you.
Yeah, every time they needed something big, they went to Scary Terry, and it was that was who they could depend on, and that was all season long. And I don't see anything changing about that. Pay the man, but let's kind of move on a little bit. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was gonna put the bow on it like this. Adam Peters, I get it. It's not like you're a new GM that came in this year and you want to negotiate and play hardball, right? You didn't. You watched him do it. You saw him come in here and elevate the team. And like you said, Mac, who was on the receiving end of all the big plays that we talk about? Most of them went to Scary Terry. Go watch the season highlights, all right, of the season. This guy is saving them and bailing his quarterback out. But now we don't want to bail him out because we're tightening the purse strings. I think Kevin was right. Build while you got a rookie quarterback contract.
Absolutely. But look, as long as they got Jaden Daniels at the quarterback position and guys like Terry McLaurin on the offensive side of the football, this team is going to be a very capable team offensively regardless. I think more of their question marks still are on the defensive side of the ball, but there's a young man in Washington Commanders training camp that has been turning some heads. He talked about him last week a little bit. Trey Amos, the cornerback, is turning heads and impressing a lot of people over there.
Oh, you read the same articles I've been reading, Joe, because I saw the same thing.
So, you got any thoughts on what this young man brings to the table, man, and what kind of impact he could possibly have in this rookie campaign?
You know, what's funny is you bring him up, but there's also another guy also that's having a great camp, and that's their nickel corner, Mike Centillas, right? Agent Zero, I'm going to call him. So between Trey Amos, who came in, and I mentioned to you guys last year, I thought he was a good pick, right? This team has been bereft of cornerback talent. They essentially took one, I'll grow. Listen, coach, don't you worry. Don't you worry. Papa's gonna get that license very soon. Okay, I got some kids of my own. They'll be joining sports. I can get them out there. I can get you the money you deserve. NIL money, man. I'll get you your money. You want your millions? Pay my kid. But getting back to Trey Amos, I liked him in the draft. I thought he was good. I thought he should have been probably a first-round pick. But again, he slid for whatever reasons, and he has that swagger, that confidence. And the interesting thing that we, the other thing that we're going to talk about with him is, if we talked about Dan Quinn last year, what is Dan Quinn known for from Seattle days? The Legion of Boom. Well, guess what? They got Marshawn Lattimore, who they traded for last year, who's had a year in the system. okay, or at least half a season in the system. They got the Centella kid, who's now another year in the system, Agent Zero, right? Who had an All-Pro year last year and is lighting it up. And now they're getting another cornerback who is ascending in their second round pick. What does that do for a defense? Well, Mac just mentioned they don't have a lot of stars on defense. Well, guess what? If you have a good secondary, I can get to the quarterback. There are guys on that team that can get 5 or 6 sacks a year. Deron Payne, Frank Louvu, Dorrance Armstrong, a few guys to name who can get to the quarterback if your corners now are back there. And mind you, again, who are they going up against? They're going up against the CeeDee Lambs, the George Pickens, Malik Neighbors, AJ Brown. You're going to need corners in this division because this division is very top heavy with its receivers. So the fact that you know the fact that we could do that, right? The fact that they could have a cornerback that's moving up the ranks, it only helps them. It only helps them going forward. And the defense that they can do, they don't have to bring. Remember, they brought a lot of pressure last year because they needed to, right? Because their cornerbacks weren't great. Now you have Lattimore, who's a proven veteran. You have Trey Amos coming in, who's rising up the ranks. Don't know if he's a starter yet, but we'll find out if he's earned that job. And then, like I said, Agent Zero. And not to mention their safeties are not bad. And you have Bobby Wagner there still controlling this defense. So if he comes in and kind of thwarts that need for them, they're going to be a better defense than they were. And they weren't a bad defense last year. They were more of a bend but don't break defense, where they let you down the field. But if they can stop you in the red zone like they did with the Saints and certain teams because they have good corners and they're applying that pressure on your receivers, then guess what? Your defense can flow better. Your front seven now doesn't need to worry about hitting the quarterback as much or doing that because it's being taken care of. If I misstep or I take a chance, like a Luvu says, you know what? I'm going to go take a chance at getting the quarterback, and maybe I get out of my rush lane a little bit. My corner on the back end can help. You don't understand how dynamic that Legion of Boom was because we only talk about it as it was. But that defense on Seattle, who was the best pass rusher on that team? Maybe Leonard Williams, if he was even in that team. I don't think he was on that team. He might not have been, but we're talking about. I don't think Leonard Williams was. Excuse me, but we're talking about. What? Who's there? Rocky Bernard. I don't even know who the defensive linemen were. Michael Bennett. Michael Bennett wasn't that great. In Tampa Bay, he goes to the Legion of Boom, and he's becoming a great player. Why? Well, guess what? Because they had a lot of guys there who, helped in the back end. And you can make, when you have a back end that's great, you can make the front end look good. The problem is when you have a bad front end, Brad front four, and you have nothing in the secondary, that exposes you. But what people don't realize is the secondary, which is probably more important than any other position outside of maybe a pass rusher, can make the front seven look better, right? As opposed to, because how hard it is to get to the quarterback? Like the Colts did this back in the day. They would get a lead, and then they'd have the two passers, Mathis and Freeney, go out. They never had like great corners. They never had like good. They had Bob Sanders and occasional Antoine Bethea, but they weren't like household names across the board on their cornerbacks like they are now. And now the Commanders, here we go. You have a solid defense, and we know how, and how Dan Quinn knows how to deploy those DBs. So it's good to watch.
Well, another free agent they brought in this past off season, man. That I don't think we've been talking too much about. Javon Kinlaw, man. Expect them. I mean, big man, big massive guy, man. Known for like making, great pick, first round pick in 2020 by the 49ers. He's now Washington's picks him up, and I feel like he's one of them sneaky moves on the offseason that they made that I think is not getting talked about enough, and I think he can have a big impact on this defense as well, pairing him up with a couple of the veteran guys that they have, like you said, with Bobby Wagner, Von Miller, Frankie Louvu. I think the kind of impact you expect to see from like a Javon Kinlaw.
Well, I mean, they're paying him a lot of money to come and make a difference. What his job is to make Deron Payne more of the pass rusher that they like him to be. When you bring in Kinlaw, when you bring in guys like that, to blow us through the offensive line. Now, the defensive line. Now, I think it'll help across the board if you have two interior guys who can do something. We thought that would happen with Jonathan Allen, right? But it never materialized. But now you bring in Kinlaw, who's been solid for the 49ers. I think he went to I forget who he went to last year, but he had a solid year with them. And now he comes to another team in the Commanders where he doesn't have to be the focal point of your pass rush, but he's a good cog to have. He's talented, right? He's not is he the greatest defensive tackle out there? No. But is he a solid player to help Deron Payne? Absolutely. And I think that'll help collapse the pocket and get some of your guys out there, because what they like to do with the Dan Quinn defense is they try to do matchups across the board, right? And their interior, if he can stop the run and help them stop the run and get to the passer a little bit, well, guess what? Now you're again playing into the strength of that defense, which is their DBs, right? Their DBs are the strength. And so when you have a pass rush and you can stop the run, you're allowing a team to jump routes and get interceptions and turnovers, which is something that the Commanders did. They were very opportunistic last year. So it is what it is. In terms of Kinlaw, I don't know what they're expecting, but I expect them to have a good year. I don't know if they're expecting Pro Bowl. I don't think you can expect 49er, Javon Kinlaw. I think it was with the Jets last year. I don't think you can think that. He might have been with Houston.
He was the Jets last year. Yeah, he was the Jets.
So he went with the Jets. Why did he go to the Jets? Well, guess what? He was with Robert Saleh. Did he have a great year? No. Jet fans didn't like him. But again, he's going to a different team and a defense where they actually, he was with Keenan Williams last year. So he had a good D tackle there. He'll have another good D tackle in Deron Payne. And I think he'll help this team out. Again, if you look across the Washington Commanders team, they don't have a ton of guys that you're like, oh, this guy's a double-digit sack guy. This guy's a double-digit sack guy. They are a collective group of, how they have running back by committee. This is a new term, pass rush by committee. Okay, they're gonna try to rush the passer with a bunch of different players, not just one. And Kinlaw helps that and helps with the run game and helps with Deron Payne now get matchups that he needs. And they also have the kid 93. I think they have him from last year, who's also good as well. So they have a decent rotation in there to kind of stop the run and help Deron Payne kind of get where he needs to go, get Dorrance Armstrong where he needs to go. They kind of run the 3-4 hybrid, right, type of defense. So they don't really have like Frank Louvu. They bring a lot of pressure with him, right? They don't know. He's not really a sack guy, but he is a pressure guy. So now you're telling me he's got Kinlaw, who's eating up a double team. He's got Deron Payne, who might eat up a double team, right? He's free to roam with Bobby Wagner to get more tackles and clean up a lot of more messes.
But like I said, as long as they get that defense in check, man, this team will be a force to be reckoned with, man. We'll keep an eye on them going forward. But I guess we can move to the Eagles unless you have any more final thoughts.
I don't really have much.
Commanders this week.
I don't really have anything else to say on the Commanders, but just that they're don't sleep on their defense. It may not look like everybody else with the weapons they have, but they have a solid front four that they're going to present, and Javon Kinlaw can be a force in that middle to clog up something for Deron Payne and all that. That's all I got.
Well, yeah, we'll see, man. Like I said, that's the one thing I think this they have something to prove is on that defensive side of the football. But we'll see they get an opportunity to do that as we get preseason underway next week, and we'll get to talk about a little bit of that, previewing some of those preseason matchups next week.
We forgot the one guy they signed there too, Von Miller. By the way, like I said, I don't know how much impact he's going to have, but Von Miller is on the team, and like I said to you guys, sacks by committee, pass rush by committee. Von Miller played, I don't know how many games. He had 13 tackles last year, 6 sacks. Okay, he's not going to be expected to do more than that. So Kinlaw, they're trying to build a defense out there. Yes, it's aging in the tooth, but we'll see what happens with them. On to the Eagles.
Philadelphia Eagles, man. Not really much to say, man. The Eagles keeping it pretty tight-lipped right now. Everything going on in the camp is almost like nobody really, don't really know much of nothing other than this team is out there business as usual, man. Trying to get geared up, trying to make another run at it, man, and trying to put last year in the past behind them. I feel like we talked about it last year. As much as they keep trying to do that, the reality is they're the defending champs, whether they like it or not. and no matter what, they're on everybody's radar screen. Any thoughts on the Philadelphia Eagles?
I mean, they are, they're a good team, and we have to respect that they're a good team. I think you're right. From all the reports I've been reading, they're kind of just tight-lipped about everything. It's kind of weird. It's kind of a weird thing to think about. Like even Nick Sirianni, they were interviewing him, and he was like, "Yeah, the past is the past. We're in this. Everyone's 0-0." And I'm like, I get that mentality. And obviously, Lane Johnson was talking about how quick their offseason went because they won and all this stuff happened and yada yada yada. But I'm just looking at them like they haven't had many knock on wood devastating injuries. I shouldn't knock on wood because I don't want them to be good. But point is, they haven't had many devastating injuries. You know, they don't they don't have too many. What up, Alex? How are you? That is our resident reporter. John, this guy is going to have a great career. Follow him. He's going to be running networks very soon. But anyways, getting back to the Eagles, they don't really have much going on. Like there's not a. You can't say, oh well, look, they lost like the Cowboys. They lost Guyton. They have Parsons hanging out, holding out. Commanders, same thing. They have somebody holding out. And the Eagles really have nothing. They're kind of just quiet and going about their business. Now, this could be a good thing for the Eagles, where it's like, okay, the quiet beast is the one I don't want to poke because they're the ones going about their business, and maybe that's their mindset. Maybe it's their quarterback, right? Because Jalen Hurts doesn't really say much. He's kind of a cool, calm, and collected guy. But for being a Super Bowl winning team, you would have holdouts and drama. There's nothing going on. There's nothing going. And on top of that, their players from last year are getting better. We're hearing guys like Jalen Hunt, getting better. They have, Jeremiah Trotter Jr. is getting better. You know what I mean? They have the guy Acho that they just signed. He's all over the place. They have, Terrence Marshall Jr. who they're starting to like. They've got things going on all over the place. Not to mention their talent running backs and AJ Dillon and Shipley and all this. This team is loaded. And it's just funny to think that, again, I don't know if they're taking the disrespect. I'm going to respect them, but I don't know how to look at this team because they had more drama last year with the coordinators
Absolutely.
gone and all this bullshit. And this year they lost one coordinator in Kellen Moore. They kept their defensive coordinator. And we're not even talking about that. We're not saying, oh, this offense is not going to do anything. Why? Because they have Saquon Barkley. I mean, like when you have that X factor on your offense, you don't have to really coach. You can say whatever you want, and he's going to break an 80-yard run. It looks like a great play call. You know what I mean? Like, what are we talking about here? So, it just you look at that team, and it's just hard to say, hey, look, everything's gone. Now, I'm not saying they're not going to have injuries or anything like that, but their offensive line's intact. The one thing I will say is Kenyon Green has not been if you want to say one bad thing, he's not been the guy they anticipated, right? He came from the Houston Texans in a trade. I don't know if they traded for Mekhi Becton, but Texans took Mekhi Becton. The Eagles let him walk for Kenyon Green, who hasn't lived up to his first round potential and apparently is not living up to the status right now with Jeff Stoutland. But Jahad Campbell's having a great camp, right? So where there are cons, like Kenyon Green, does he need to start? No, their whole offensive line is basically intact. They don't really need Kenyon Green to start. They'll find a cog. And can you name a weakness on this team? I mean, they had the best defense in football last year. They're bringing back all guys and then some. Okay, their players from last year are getting exponentially better, right? With Quinyon Mitchell, Kelly Ringo, and all this stuff. They know how to win. Their offense is so dynamic, right? Arguably the greatest show on turf, reincarnated. You look at Marshall Faulk. They had Isaac Bruce, Troy Holt, and you can even throw Aziz Akeem in there if you wanted to. But this one has AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and Saquon Barkley, and not to mention an offensive line that's stacked. So there's not really much to say outside of that. Damn, they're pretty good. what can you
I
what can
mean,
you say? They're pretty freaking good.
look, you're just a good team when your biggest news of the week is pretty much that you got two guys that were announced to be in the 99 club on Madden. You know what I mean? When that's your biggest news of the week, it just tells you everything you need to know about a team, man. They don't have, like I said, they're just a really good football team. Not like you said, not dramas, not circulating them. All they do is go about business as usual, man. But Saquon Barkley, Lane Johnson, two of seven players that are part of the 99 club on Madden. I really don't put a whole lot of stock, obviously, in what your rating on a video game is, but
You can always
at the end
edit
of the
that.
day, at the end of the day, I guess I mean some guys feel like as though it's an honor. So be it. You know what I mean?
Hey,
You
listen, I'd
got
have an
pretty
honor
much a
just to put my
perfect
name in the
rating on a
video game.
video game.
You can get
Absolutely.
you can give me a 20 rating in Madden as long as I'm in the damn game and you pay me the licensing fee to use my name. I'll take that little stipend. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, man. But I was gonna say, talk about one guy on the Eagles. I want to talk about a guy that I feel like I do want to see a little more from this season. Not that he's been like he's been completely unproductive or yet, but I just still feel like I want to see a little more from in the middle of that defense, man. Jordan Davis, man. I want to see him take that next step. You sitting there, you playing alongside of, huh? Excuse me.
He's looking good.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to see him take another step. I mean, as far as is on the field. And I mean, Jalen Carter, we already know the talent that Jalen Carter is. He's on his way to just absolute greatness. I mean, he's already kind of there. But I just want to see a guy like Jordan Davis really take, because I feel like when I watch Eagles games, I don't want to say he has no impact, but I just feel like it's not quite what you would expect it to be in a sense, if that makes any sense. I just want to see a
Yep.
guy like him take yet another step going this season and ascend to what we thought. Because we thought, I mean, I thought when he came out of college that he was just going to be a completely dominant, unstoppable force. And I mean, he's been good. Like I said, he's been solid, but he hasn't been like that great player that I was expecting him to be. I feel like he hadn't made that ascendance towards greatness that I was expecting. I don't know what you feel about Jordan Davis.
I think he's underachieved for what they drafted him for. He in college wasn't, he was drafted mainly on his combine numbers. He in college he was a solid player and a dominant player, but when he ran that 40 time at the combine, I think it kind of people got like the wide eyed, like oh my god, like kid candy store type of vibe for him. So he got drafted a little higher. So far, he's lost 26 pounds. So that's a good start for him. We'll see if that can translate on the field. And I think, like you're right, I think it would help him to be dominant because Jalen Carter could then beat his man, who by the way, Jalen Carter is an absolute machine out there. Like it's Dexter Lawrence and Jalen Carter and a few other guys. He's in the top five, 4 or 5 at his position. Jalen Carter. You don't need Jordan Davis to be that. You just need him to be good enough to take up double teams and beat guys. Well, like you, I thought he was going to be a monster with that weight. It just never translated in the NFL right now. So we'll see if his sense of urgency this season kicks in, and because he lost 26 pounds, and maybe he's more dedicated. You never know what goes through a guy's head. Remember, we're dealing with young people who are just learning to be adults, right? Just learning how to have professionalism, and that's hard to do. And now you're on a team where accountability is going to matter. We're talking about a championship team now. That means guys are going to point fingers at you if you're not doing your job. Like even Zach Bond said it. We need the accountability on this defense. So if your guy not pulling your slack, you're not going to play. It doesn't matter if you're a first round pick. When winning teams start to win, it doesn't matter about value or where you were picked. It matters what you're going to give me on the field. And if you're just a big old gap doing nothing on the field and you're a liability, well, I'm going to get you off. And losing 26 pounds may help him. It's like the kid in Tampa Bay who was drafted has 426 pounds, or whatever, that guy. And they're like, oh, you got to lose some weight. Well, yeah, he played at college where you can dominate that weight. In the NFL, you're not going to be that effective in that weight to do it, right? So let's see what it does for him. I don't know if that's going to do anything. You're on a winning football team. The guys around you are expecting you to be good now. and expecting things out of you, can you rise to the level of your teammates? If he can, this Eagle team is going to be just as good as it was last year, if not better. And I don't know what to expect out of this Eagle team. I really don't. Like they could be the best. They could go 17-0. Like that's how good they are. They are so good they don't even know how good they are. You know, and they're scared. They are what I call scary good. I don't know who's going to knock them off. They've beaten everybody in the NFC. They have talent across the board. They're well coached. Say what you want about Nick Sirianni. He's a great coach right now. All right. He went to 2 Super Bowls. He's got this team, focused in the right mindset. And if they blow the doors off the Dallas Cowboys come opening night, what are we going to say? Right? Are we going to be like, oh, yeah, there might be points for another run? And I would hate to say it. In my lifetime, the Eagles having a fucking dynasty, but God dang it, they're having a fucking dynasty right now. All right? If they go to another Super Bowl this year, we're going to have to put them in the same category as Kansas City because Kansas City has been to 5, 1-3, right? If they go, again, which I don't want to speak this into existence, but they're poised for another run. And so we'll see what happens. Jordan Davis, it's on you, man. There's guys behind you, and the Eagles. One thing the Eagles will do, they'll replace your ass real quick. So we'll see what happens.
I can agree with you. I mean, I don't really want to talk that and speak that into existence, obviously, but I can agree with you. This team right now, I mean, they could be on their way to truly being a true dynasty. Honestly, I mean, they have the talent on that roster, up and down, top to bottom, the depth, everything. I mean, roster is locked and loaded. But one thing I will say that also could work against them is last season, a season ago, they had a tremendous year. And like I said, I don't want to also speak this into existence because I don't wish this on anybody, but this team stayed fairly healthy for the most part, like a season ago. Can't necessarily expect them to be quite that lucky with the injury bug this season, but we'll see how things turn out, man. If they do, if they're able to, kind of stay relatively healthy once again throughout this season, I don't really see the only thing stopping this team is themselves, man. I mean, they are the most talented team in the league to me, bar none. And until other people prove it, that's just what it is. Not just the NFC East division; they're the most talented team in the league, and that's just what it comes down to right now. They're at the top of the mountain, and everybody else has to get up there where they are, where they're at. But they've been so good. Can't even hate on the Pigeons. Yeah, I mean it's hard. It's hard to hate, especially like I said, where I'm living at, dude. I'm surrounded by these guys, man. I'm surrounded by nothing but Eagle fans, bro. My daily life is talking to and dealing with Eagle fans every damn day of my life. And now it's at the point where, like you said, I can't even hate. I can't even properly hate on them. You know what I mean? Because it's just a reality. I just sound stupid at that because I just start sounding stupid. You know what I mean? So it's just crazy, man. It's just crazy. Yeah, what you got to deal with right now with this team. But hopefully somebody can knock them off the pedestal, man. Somebody. But yeah, let's get to it, man. Let's get to what we're here to talk about, man. Because the Eagles pretty much don't have nothing else on. You got anything else on the Eagles, Adam?
Nope.
Yeah, they didn't give us much to talk about right now. But let's get to the New York Football Giants, man. A lot of things going on in training camp, man. Like I said, it's just about trying to rebuild the magic, so to speak, of this organization. Get organizationally right, so to speak. Like I said, not expecting big things from this team this year. Overall, I think is still not quite there. I mean, when you look at the landscape of the division, still, I mean, let's face it, you got it right now, call it what it is. We are still the fourth best team in this division right now on paper for sure. Then you can maybe change that when we get on the field and start playing some games. But at the end of the day, man, this team is starting to make some positive changes, man. Looking a little better, man. Just as a football team, man. What's your thoughts coming out of Giants camp right now, Adam?
Well, I think that the team is, they have energy. I don't know. I don't know what I feel. The one thing I will say is I am scared of their run defense. when Dexter Lawrence comes out of the game or the practice, they get run on, and I'm like, well, that can't be your Achilles heel. You have to stop the run. And right now we have nobody. And I think next year in the draft, we're gonna have to draft somebody high in the D tackle spot. I'm hoping that Darius Alexander can take that spot. But again, if he can't stop the run, there's this defense with all this pass rush is gonna be nothing. It's gonna be nothing. You're gonna Abdul Carter and all this stuff. Great. You can't stop the run. You're not gonna like we play some run heavy teams this year. A lot of run heavy, big offensive line teams this year. We're not playing, you know, if you look at the Giants offensive line, we're not playing a bunch of 300-pound linemen this year. We're playing the Eagles twice. They have over 300-pound, 320 plus pounds across the board. Cowboys, I mentioned, their interior is stacked. Okay, you look at the Commanders, their interior is pretty fat too. Not to mention they just got Leonard Tunsil. Okay, so if you can't stop the run against our offensive line, who has a bunch of nobodies on it right now, like our offensive line is a bunch of makeshift guys. You got JMS who's terrible. Okay, you got Kyle Van Roten who's okay. You have John Runyon, I guess, who's solid. I don't really hear much out of him either way. Jermaine Luminor is playing for a contract. I don't necessarily need him. James Hudson is up and down. I'm wondering if James Hudson makes Andrew Thomas expendable, because if Andrew Thomas doesn't come back, or somebody loses a tackle down the road, and you think James Hudson can do it, because I think if you look down the road on teams, right, you always want to look at who the next guy may be if they come in. Membu to me is going to be the right tackle next year at some point. I think that's the guy I want to see get the big tackle package, the extra tight end package in the game. That's how I want to see Marcus Membu play. Right, James Hudson should also be in that mix, but he's here for another year. So you could tell Luminor to kick rocks and put James Hudson. I know he is looking bad, but you got to do no Mets.
Well,
My
for
thing
what
is,
it's worth, I'm
he's going up
sorry.
against Brian. He's going up against Brian Burns and Kayvon.
Look what he's going up against on a day-to-day in practice. And for what it's worth, he's bringing that out of him. He's bringing that intent, because I don't know what else you heard about James Hudson, but James Hudson apparently he keeps shit started. Yeah, he keeps shit started. I mean, he in the spring, him and Brian Burns went at it. He's already had a little issue with Kayvon Thibodeau already the first week of training camp here. This guy's kind of a spark plug out there. He's kind of keeping these guys motivated, keeping them fired up. So, that's also one way to look at that too. I mean, when you say he's looking bad, because I've heard mixed things about Hudson. I've heard he's been, he's like Adam said, ups and downs. It's not nothing great, but at the same time, not completely terrible either.
Do I want him starting week 1? Hell no. But is he capable of being a starter? You signed him to big, not starter money, but low-end starter money with a 2-year, $14 million deal with incentives. So he's coming in here, and he's going to grab that opportunity, especially with Illuminor doing there. Like you said, Evan Neal, I've heard up and down things about Evan Neal. I've heard he's done good, and then I've heard him, get burnt in the middle of the field as well. The interior of this offensive line is really going to be tested this year. Okay, we talked about Deron Payne and Javon Kinlaw. We just mentioned Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter, right? But what's alarming to me is that this offensive line, which isn't great, like JMS is knocking over Bobby Okereke, but he sucks. Like, I don't like Bobby Okereke, but that's another story, right? They're running over with these guys. You got Cam Scatterbo running and making his offense look good. I have to take certain things with a grain of salt. Remember last year we heard all the camp reports of how good we were. Then we went up against Detroit, and where everyone's like, blowing themselves, like this team was good, and then they hit the regular season and the shit falls apart, right? So I'm just the things I look for in practice are, I'm really focused on Jackson Dart. That's really who I give a shit about. I'm looking at some of these receivers because we're banged up across the board. I realize that we have Malik Neighbors and nobody else on the offensive side of football. Like, he is literally the only thing that you're like, oh my God. Like, and Cam Scatterbo, I hope, is something, because we need somebody else, but you still have a question mark at Theo Johnson. They have like 7 tight ends right now, right? Which is good, but no one's really establishing themselves. You have an offensive line that, is makeshift right now, but one of those guys go down, boom. Theo's having a good camp, but he hasn't done anything. Just like Max says with rookies JD, like they're good. Let me see it again. And let's be honest, Tracy, while I like Tracy, I look at value when it comes to these lower end picks. They value Cam Scatterboo higher than Tyrone Tracy. You can say whatever you want. When you put a fourth round pick, that's higher than a fifth round pick, and they wanted that guy in the third round, but they waited to the fourth, right? So what does that mean? Well, it means that when you're doing decisions, who's going to get burned? Cam Scatterboo might get burned. And by the way, I think Cam Scatterboo is a better back than Tracy only because of his vision. He may not have the same breakaway speed, but when you're watching him and him setting up his cuts, you can tell this guy's played running back a lot more. While as Tracy is more of a one cut runner and runs up the field, you know. But again, those gashes from the run game came from Tracy. Yes, they did. There was a few gashes. I get it. But Tracy was a good player last year. I'm not saying he's not, but he's not in the same caliber of back as Barkley. He's not, in the same caliber of back as Bijan Robinson. And if he goes down, am I worried about the offense falling apart? No. Tracy goes down, they're gonna have Singletary come in, they'll have, Cam Scatterboo come in. Malik Neighbors goes down. Who the fuck are you relying on? Jalen Hyatt can't get on the field.
Hold on.
What?
Can you just let's pause on that point real quick for a second, because like I said, I think there's untapped potential in the wide receiver room in the New York Giants. I believe, like I said, and I stand on it. The quarterback situation has been so abysmally terrible for the New York Giants over the last few years. I don't believe we know what else we really have in the wide receiver room. Honestly, I just don't. I don't think we've seen the best of what we can see from those guys because the quarterback play has been that bad. Now, granted, we don't have any other blue chippers. We don't have any other blue chippers like Malik Neighbors. He's an absolute blue chipper. I mean, straight up. I mean, he's the guy that may be in that 99 club, hell, even as early as next year with competent quarterback play this season. But at the end of the day, I think we don't really. I believe Wan'Dale Robinson could be a little bit better with better quarterback play. I believe Darius Slayton could be better with better quarterback play this year that we're going to probably most likely get with Russell Wilson at the helm, or even when Jackson Dart gets on the field as well, who, by the way, has been taking some strides in the last couple of days in camp.
We'll get to him in a minute. But
yeah, absolutely. But I just want to understand that. Like I know right now, if you look at ranked receivers in the NFC East, receiver rooms in the NFC East right now, we probably would still be on the bottom right now. But that's based off of what we kind of know right now. But I just think there's untapped potential, and I look forward to seeing that
I agree
as the
with
season gets underway.
I agree with you. What do we talk about when you give a guy like Malik Neighbors a quarterback? He goes from having 1,100 yards a season to having 1,700 yards a season. Look at Jamar Chase. He had, when Joe Burrow went down, he still had 1,000 yards, but now Joe Burrow comes back, he has 1,700 yards, right? CeeDee Lamb, he goes from 1,700 yard receiver. Cooper Rush is in the game, he still gets 1,000 yards, but he doesn't have the same impact. I understand all that. What I'm saying is, our guys are banged up. It's not like Wan'Dale Robinson's blowing camp up, right? It's not like Jalen Hyatt's blowing camp up. Darius Slayton is who he is. I'm not saying these guys aren't good and can't get open with their receiving core. What I'm saying is, to me, if I'm comparing who's on the team, if I'm more worried about Malik Neighbors not being in the game than I am a guy like Tyrone Tracy in the game. That's all I'm saying. And I'm not trying to discredit. So my point is that he is big. And now I like some of what I'm hearing from these young guys in Cambridge and Bo Collins. Right, they're kind of stepping up in the absence of these guys. The guy that I fear the most is probably going to be traded. Is going to be Jalen Hyatt. That guy has done nothing, even when he's in camp. And Russell Wilson is blowing him in the press conferences. He still is not on the field to do anything. And to me, Joe Shane will show me something if he lets go of some of these guys this year. Josh Azudu's, Jalen Hyatt's. And if you bring, I'm not saying just don't bring anybody else in, but if you see a better player out there from another team that couldn't make it, or you're going to trade for somebody, right? Why are we looking at Gabe Davis if we're so happy about a receiving core? It really is that simple. Darius Slayton I don't think you're going to see much of a difference with Darius Slayton in the game. He is who he is. Even with Tyrod Taylor in the game, he made some big plays, but he wasn't there the entire season. So I get Darius Slayton is good, but he's not a top wideout in this league like some of these other guys. And I do believe at the end of the season, when it's all said and done, and we're going into next year, if we haven't seen Jackson Dart, and he hasn't failed, if we don't need a quarterback in this next year's draft, I think we're going to go for a wide receiver, another skill position player, to put with Malik Neighbors to say, listen, now we have Jackson Dart. We're going to get him another weapon. Hopefully Theo Johnson will have stepped up by now, and we're not talking about him in the need of a tight end, right? And then we'll have our running backs, Cam Scatterboo and Tracy and Tyrone Tracy, and we get at the end of the year that, hey, these two guys are capable of toting the rock as well, and we have a competent set of skill players going forward. What I'm worried about is if already Malik Neighbors is banged up already, and a lot of these guys seem to be get banged up. Malik Neighbors is a bad toe. Who knows when that's going to give way on him? And now he's got a shoulder. You've got, Jalen Hyatt can't seem to get on the field no matter what he does. Wan'Dale Robinson's been out. If he's out tomorrow, I'm going to be a little concerned, right? But he's out. He hasn't really stood out in practice. Like the back end guys, after you go from Malik Neighbors and Darius Slayton, the back end guys still have a lot of question marks. I like Wan'Dale Robinson, but I'm not like I shouldn't say I like Wan'Dale Robinson.
So you don't like Wan'Dale Robinson.
Let me take.
You don't
Let
like
me.
Wan'Dale Robinson.
Let me.
I was on a stream with you the night he was drafted. You don't like Wan'Dale Robinson.
Let me take that back. Let me take that back. Okay. Wan'Dale Robinson does what he does. Okay. He's not my favorite player, but he doesn't. He's not wowing me. Right. I can get him. I'm pretty sure I can put in another guy, one of these young guys, and get the same production out of him. Right? The Giants don't have a tall, lanky receiver. I'd like to see Bo Collins get some burn with the team because he's a 6'3" wide receiver. He was decent for Notre Dame. Now, again, Wan'Dale Robinson is an anomaly. I don't feel like the Giants are missing a beat without that guy. Right? So, but enough with the receiving core. I think they're banged up. We'll see who comes to the forefront. Preseason games will be telling. Whoever if we get out of those games unscathed. Obviously, I would not let Malik Neighbors even sniff the field, barring that his injury is not serious. They're saying it's not serious, but they haven't given us details on what it's like. Is it a bone?
Well, he said himself he feels fine. It's just I think precautionary. Held him out of practice. Took him out of practice the other day. Took him out and sat him. But he said he's fine. He spoke to the media and was saying he was,
what's interesting, Mac? I don't know if you watched Up with Kay Adams or whatever that show she has, right? They mentioned when Malik Neighbors was on there, he mentioned something about how the team collaborated with him on the decisions for the quarterbacks. And while I like that you get input, I don't like that you're getting input because at the end of the day, if I needed Malik Neighbors to be the GM, I'd give him the title of being a GM. Now, do you want to hear his preference because he's a star player? Sure, that's great. Make your point, make your case, ingest his idea. But he shouldn't, if he really is on the search or you're collaborating with him and talking, I didn't know that became a thing. And for me, I'm not trying to say Malik Neighbors shouldn't have input. No, because he obviously wants to get the ball thrown to him correctly. But that's why you get paid. Okay, that's why you should just let it be. Yes, you want your player to be happy, but they didn't ask Terry McLaurin in Washington, hey, how do you like your court? No, they just went out and drafted one, and now here it is, right? You might get an input. He might be excited. Yes, Neighbors are excited. Oh, we're getting Russell Wilson. How do you feel? Oh, that's great. I love it. It's better than the fucking dumbass we had here last year. I'm excited about it. Oh, by the way, we're getting Drew Lock, then, oh, we're going to draft Jackson Dart. Great. Finally, somebody I can grow with. Right. So I get it, but there's one thing I want to bring up, and let's transition to Dart because he was on that Up and Adams show. I'll say this about Dart. You like him or hate him, the guy is a breath of fresh air to listen to. Okay.
I was going to bring that up.
He is not a dumbass. Okay. I'm sitting here listening to his interviews. I'm like, wow, that's what a sentence sounds like. That's what a full sentence sounds like. Instead of Daniel with the like, what are we doing? It's like you short circuited out there. And then you look at it, right? Russ Wilson does the same shit. He has coherent sentences, and I'm like, oh my god, what is happening right now. Then I listen to fucking Jameis Winston, and oh my god, I just want to put him in front of a high school team and get fired up because he is just so intellectually smart. And I'm like, where did we go to Encyclopedia Britannica of quarterbacks? Because these guys are all talk now. Now I'm thinking to myself, these guys are smart. And then look at Russell Wilson, and he can read a defense, and he understands certain things. I'm wondering if that's a correlation. Maybe we should start looking at how, because you could be dumb, but if you don't have talent, you can't be dumb and not have talent, right? Like there are certain guys in the league who can't speak, but damn, they can fucking play football, right? But you don't want to get them in fucking public speaking class because you're like, what the hell are you talking about, right? But then you listen to like Jackson Dart and you're like, wow, he understands defenses. He's out there dancing with his teammates. I'm like, where is this? Where has this been for the quarterback team? You know what I mean? Like, where has this been in so long? And for me, I'm excited for it. I don't know about you, Mac, but I'm excited for Jackson Dart. I don't care about the ups and downs of practice. I really don't. They're overblowing.
I'm more excited for Jackson Dart now than I was back on draft day. What's going on, Bobby Murphy, by the way? Thanks for stopping in, bro. Yeah, go Birds.
Yeah, obviously.
But
we all know who we wanted.
But at the end of the day, Jackson Dart, the other day in his presser the other day, he said something that to me was that was eye opening. And it was that he said something that you always used to call Daniel Jones, that you used to always call Daniel Jones. You used to call him a robot. And Jackson Dart came out of his mouth. The lady said, I don't want to be a robot back here. You know what I mean? I was thinking immediately about Al, like, damn, Adel, man. I was
like, sometimes I know some stuff, right?
I just thought it was like hilarious. You know what I mean? In general, like, just because the way when he said it, I'm thinking like, damn, he must have he was like listening to Adam or something. He's just like saying like
he wasn't listening to me. That's for sure. I'm a little blip on his radar screen, but what it means though to me, and something happened in practice which I loved. Right? People are talking about, oh well, he had a bad second half of practice. First off, it's practice. Okay, it's practice. People, not a game, practice. And right now, for me, I am not worried about a lot of the things that he's done because he has ramped it up. He's thrown some beautiful passes, and he needs experience. Right now, he's technically considered the second quarterback. I don't care about Russell Wilson. I like that he's here. I like his energy. I like what he brings. I like the competency of what he's going to bring to the quarterback position. However, this is not his team. It is Jackson Dart's team. Okay, if they ever show him. And like I said last week, Chris Bucco, a friend of the show, a friend of mine, we were having a discussion, and he brought up, well, if you get to see Jackson Dart, it's a complete bomb, and you happen to struggle this season, which, we have a tough schedule, you might be in line to get another quarterback next year if you decide that he's not the guy or the regime gets fired, right? And it makes perfectly good sense that I want to see and need to see him. I don't think the Giants have the wherewithal to just sit him. And some ridiculous rumor came up where like no quarterback does well when they're drafted in the 20s. Bullshit, because Aaron Rodgers is a Hall of Famer, and
I was gonna say, what the hell?
Jordan Love is pretty good. Okay, he's playing over there in Green Bay, so I don't want to hear that bullshit. What I do like about Jackson Dart, some of the things I like are his interview skills are fucking phenomenal. I love listening to that kid. He's just got a swagger about him that I haven't seen in any of the quarterbacks the Giants have had. Eli had a quiet confidence. He didn't have a swagger. The other quarterback that I hate talking about had nothing. Like you didn't know that you didn't know what the hell was wrong with him except that he fucking wilted under pressure, right? The other thing I like about him is he learns on the job, and something that he said in a press conference that really got me was he said to Brian Dable, "I wish we had 2-a-days because I need to get back out there." And that's the mindset and the things that I want to hear from our quarterback. That's a leader. He also is yelling at a teammate for not lining up when Montel Williams or Montel, whatever the fuck his name is, Monty Williams was not lining up properly. He got in his ass and was like, yo, get lined up. And then the snap came and it fumbled and all that shit. And everyone's like, oh my God, he was. But the fact that he was addressing a teammate for making a mistake in a crucial moment is something that we have not seen out of a quarterback. And it takes confidence. It takes confidence in yourself. It takes confidence in knowing your ability. It takes confidence in just being able to relate with the guys. I'll tell you right now, we talk about a black cloud. The reason this team has energy, the most energy, and I think it'll translate to some wins or at least more competency on the football field, is because they know they don't have a dunderhead looking left while his receivers run to the right. That's what they know. And when you have a guy under center, regardless of if it's Russell, Jameis, or Dart, and you believe in him, it changes the whole dynamic of what you do. And for me, again, I don't care about what Russell Wilson gives me. It's going to be exciting. If you had Russell Wilson here and Jameis Winston and Tommy DeVito and maybe some 6th-round pick, I'd be like, let Russell cook. But because you drafted him in the 1st round, because I need to see him, because of the looming quarterback class that's coming out next year, I need to find out what the fuck I have in Dart. And I don't care that he has over this in practice. He's made stride. He had a great throw a couple of days ago to the back shoulder throw that even some guy, I think his name's Eli Ricks, was like, Daniel Jones never made a throw like that. And it's true. He didn't have the confidence to throw the ball up like that. Malik Neighbors was already telling you that they are in there studying routes together, understanding concepts and signals together. Like, the reason this team for me is so much more exciting to watch is I don't have to watch a quarterback that is fucking up in practice. Is he fucking up mentally? No. It's mistakes that are correctable. It's not like mental mistakes. He threw an interception. How many interceptions has he thrown since? Not many, right? How is he moving the team up and down the field? Yes. Has he learned? He still has to learn how to play under center. He still has to learn how to read the defense, right? Do I expect him to start? My bold take was he was going to start. I still think he should week 1. They won't do it because their asses are on the line. But you tell me this team is 1-3 or 2-6 or like out of the playoff mix early on, 3-5. Like if they're not 500 by the middle of the season, put the kid in. If you're 3-5 after 8, see you, Russ. You did a good job, but let's check this kid out the last 10 games. We need to check him out. We need to find out if what we got is correct, right? If you're cooking and you end up falling apart down in October and losing, I get it, fine. But if this team, I mean, the schedule is brutal. It's fucking brutal. Okay, start the season. People can say what they want about Washington. My friend thinks they're going to win, and maybe they will. But Washington is looking at the Giants as a bump in the road. They were a 3-14 football team. We need to go kick their ass. Dallas, same thing. They were 7-10. We need to go kick their ass. Fucking Kansas City and LA are both Super Bowl kind of contending teams. They're looking at the Giants as a fucking roadblock, as a little bump in the road. Like, let's get through this team and we'll continue on our season. So if this season does go bad, and maybe it goes good. And the problem I'm having right now is a lot of people are picking the Giants. And when the Giants get picked, they never do well, right? They need to fly under the radar. Well, everyone's starting to ballyhoo their defense and all this stuff and starting to feel it. Let's let them play. And if they fail, I need to see Dart. I don't think some people said, oh, well, you're not going to see him for a year. Giants don't have that luxury. They don't. Not at all.
They do not. They definitely need to get him on the field, at least in some regard this season. I'm not sure if I feel strong about it. I feel like he need to get him on the field. But if Russ gets his team off to a pretty decent start to the season, whatever, like I said, if it has to be more like the way they did the Kurt Warner Eli situation back in 04.
They were winning when they benched him.
Exactly. That's what I mean. It has to be kind of more like that situation where you really see the writing on the wall, where the season's it's not going terrible, but are we really going anywhere anyway? And we got this guy, we got this rookie that we just invested in. Like, situation like that, maybe. I do want to see Jack. We do got to get some Jackson Dart on the field. A lot of people are saying strongly, no, it needs to be a complete redshirt season, but I can't stand by that because, like you said, with the quarterback class coming out next year, you got to know whether you got your guy or not right now in Jackson Dart, because if you need to move off of him and pivot, then you need to understand that, because you cannot let another great quarterback class just get by you again like you did a season ago.
Right.
You can't allow that. You can't allow that to happen if that's what you need to do. So you got to see some degree of Jackson Dart for sure. But
we'll find out about Brian Dable, because they didn't change anything on the offense minus the quarterback, right? They took everybody's back mostly, and the quarterback's changed. So for me, this season is two people. It's Jackson Dart and it's Brian Dable. It's how can Brian Dable get this guy to be the quarterback that we hope he is, okay? And how does he perform? And the other guy I want to talk about real quick before we kind of wrap it up is Shane Bowen. I don't know how good of a defensive coordinator he is. The reason why I say this is because when you lose Dexter Lawrence and you still can't stop the run, that becomes a schematic thing. Because you had Leonard Williams, couldn't stop the run. You had other guys come in last year, you couldn't stop the run. It can't be that you only cog is that we have to put our all-pro Hall of Fame defensive tackle out there. That's right, I said Hall of Fame defensive tackle out there for him to be that. Because if that guy needs a rest, because I'd rather have him fresh throughout the season, but it's going to be a liability taking him off the field, then I blame the scheme less the personnel. That's what I'm looking at.
Well, one thing I will say in practice too, right now with the run, stopping the run, and it bothers me because like this is football, and I just don't get it, and it's the reason why. And this is not even just a New York Giants thing. This is league wide. This is why we see the sloppy play that we see like throughout the first month of the season, kind of in a sense, league wide. It's this thud and shit. You got your pads on, man. Let's tackle people because I feel like that also is the detriment. I think it was, I don't know who it was that I was talking. Was it Brian Burns, Abdul Carter? I can't remember who it was talking the other day, and they were talking about this specifically. Like, it's kind of hard when you got to realize that you got to still, even though you got pads on, you got to still kind of lay off of the guys a little bit, and instead of. So it does, like, and I get it. Some of these, they have been getting gashed a little bit here and there too, but sometimes there might be plays that could have been made, but it's just like this thudding, not really being able to tackle to the ground stuff. It does. It's to me, it's hard to practice that way. I don't even understand it. I mean, these guys are pros. I guess that's why they can do it. But
yeah, but
to me,
have a good point.
It just what's that?
You brought a good point, and that was the practice. I looked at Kansas City, and that guy is burning that team for 2.5 hours, and that team is running, and they're getting into fights, and it's hot outside, and this team is not just feels different. Their practice, I don't know what it is. I'm not trying to say they're not as physical, but it just feels a little different. Like Aaron Glenn, I don't want to see the Jets right now because that team is they're all about their business. They're hitting and knocking the teeth out of people. And I can't tell if you're knocking a guy down, but I've seen some of the clips, and even the thudding, they're not even getting there. They're getting gashed. Like, let's be honest, they decleated Bobby Okereke. So there is some type of hitting going on. So if you can decleat the linebacker but can't tackle the running back, then we got other problems. And like you said, this brings up my point that I make to everybody. If you put a boxer out there and they don't have any sparring or any cardio or haven't in a bag or haven't sparred against anybody, the 12-round fight is not going to be good, right? And if you do that with these teams and you're playing club med with them and not tackling, guess what? When you play the Eagles and you play that heavy set line in Washington and Brian Robinson's coming downhill at your throat and you don't know how to tackle him, it's going to lead to big games. And that's why I only want to bring that point up because you were talking about practice and I was watching NFL Network. And I'm sitting there listening to about Kansas City's been practicing for 2.5 hours, and the Giants just got to 2 hours like today or whatever. And I'm like, wow, Kansas City's out there, a Super Bowl team practicing for 2.5 hours in the heat, and this team is over here pussyfooting around for an hour and 40 minutes. And I'm like, will this if I find out the Giants lose and Kansas City goes on to being, 14-3 or whatever, I'm gonna have to go back and say, listen, maybe Brian Dable runs too loose of a ship in camp.
I mean, that's something that can definitely me look more into for real. I do agree. Like, I just feel like there should. I feel like there should be. I just feel like I want to see more physicality at practice myself. I'm not saying I want to see guys getting hurt, but I mean, you got to practice actual tackling, like people. I mean, to me, it's just not the same. It's this thudding around craziness. If you got on full pads, what are we thud? If you're not tackling, then you might as well not even have full pads on. As far as I'm concerned, like, what is even really the point? But
right. I thought the only person you couldn't tackle in practice was the quarterback.
Exactly. I mean, to me, it just has some kind of a difference. And as far as like when it comes to like the run game, also, I mean, from what it's worth, also Dexter Lawrence hasn't really been doing a lot of the team drills too much right now. Anyway, he hasn't really been taking too much part in much of that anyway. So you got to have that with a grain of salt as far as what they're doing to us in the run game. I know a lot of people had their strong opinions on Darius Alexander off to a fairly slow start. You got to remember, this is the kid, 3rd-round pick out of Toledo, first week of the NFL training camp. Let's pump the brakes on people already throwing the bust word out there. That's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, he hasn't. Sure, you'd like to see him pick things up, and maybe he will. You know what I mean? And hopefully he will. But I think right now some people have been already jumping off the deep end already. Setting a bar that's way too high for a guy, a 3rd-round pick coming out of a small school, man, in his first week of NFL training camp. So let's just keep that in mind. But I mean, it absolutely is. I would agree otherwise, but that's still not. Either way, I still think this is a team that needs more than a couple hours of practice a day. I mean, it just is. Let's just call it what it is. You're in the pros, you're in the NFL, you get paid a lot of money. Just stay hydrated and do what you got to do, man. At this point, I mean, I get them guys down there in like Miami and South Florida, them guys down in those temperatures, those climates. I mean, they're still getting it in. Like I said, this team needs all the work it can get. And you brought up a good point with Shane Bowen as well. Shane Bowen is going to have to really show me something, man. He needs to be aggressive. He needs to be a court. He needs to really unlock all this potential this defense has. And I know people had their opinions of Bobby Okereke, Michael McFadden have been quiet throughout training camp as well. I'm not that concerned. I think we know what these guys are, and I think you know what their capabilities are. And I think when we get to the real deal, man, the real action, I think these guys will be okay. And especially if those D linemen can keep offensive linemen off of those linebackers, and they can free flow to the ball a little bit more and make those plays and have an opportunity to make those plays and be better linebackers, man. But that's probably going to about do it for us this week, man, on a real deal NFC East roundup, man. Adam, you got any final thoughts before we get out of here, man?
We finally have a game tomorrow, so we really are locking and loading. And next week we'll be previewing probably a game. I think they play next weekend. I think everybody plays, so we'll be able to preview a game for you guys next week. So this is going to be exciting, yeah, I can't wait.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate everybody coming through, man, in the chat. My God, no mess, no nets, no jets, man. Always, man. Always here, man. Always supporting the show. Definitely, really, really appreciate it. What's going on, Zion? Jumping in late, man, as we getting ready to wrap it up, man. But thank you, man. We appreciate you stopping through, bro. That's our co-host in the Premium Takes podcast.
Bro, it's all the rest of the weeks that I'm worried about, Zion.
Appreciate it, Kev, man, stopping through, man. Appreciate you, my brother. And we'll definitely be back once again next week, man. Make sure y'all come to the channel, my channel, Mac the Giants Fan, Adam's channel, Adam Costas, and check out the Hardcore Sports Network. Like and subscribe, man. And we appreciate all the support, man. We're gonna keep coming at y'all each and every Wednesday, man. Wednesday, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. From here on out until the last NFC East team is standing, man. I'm Mac the Giants Fan. This is my guy, the super dope co-host Adam Costas. See y'all next week. Peace. I'd like to thank you all for listening. If you was feeling this, please take time to subscribe and smack them likes. Feel free to drop a comment. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to ring that bell so you know when I'm dropping new content. It's your boy, Mac the Giants Fan. You can find me on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook at Mac the Giants Fan. That's MACDA Giants Fan.